This phone just became more powerful than every ad agency on Madison Avenue combined.
For the first time in history, creator-generated content is generating more advertising dollars than professionally produced content. We're talking about a $185 billion shift, and it's happening right now.
And if you're a business owner that's thinking about marketing the old way, hiring agencies, creating professional content, and focusing on brand awareness, you're about to get destroyed by creators.
Today, we're breaking down exactly what this seismic shift means for your business. And more importantly, what you can do to capitalize on it before your competitors figure it out.
Whether you're a team of 50 or a solopreneur, this changes everything about how you should approach marketing in 2025.
So let's dive right into this conversation because this is something we've talked about a lot as it relates to the creator economy. And we've said over and over again that the creator economy is not just a creator economy, it's the economy. And I think over the last several weeks, we've seen a lot of stuff come out, which we want to talk about today, about how everything is shifting in that direction, especially as it relates to traditional media and social media. So today we're going to spend some time having that conversation about a lot of these things that we saw, especially as it relates to what just happened at the Cannes Festival and what some executives were saying. So if we look at this historic shift that's happening in advertising, I'm going to read something really quick from the CEO or one of the executives at WPP Media, which is in the UK, but is also relevant to what's happening here. So this article, I believe, comes from, maybe it was the Hollywood Reporter, but I'll figure it out wherever the article comes from. But it would either the Hollywood Reporter or the Morning Brew. And the quote says this: why are we seeing a shift? One of the reasons I think is the fundamental disparity between professional publisher like a TV station or newspaper, where there are real fixed costs for employees, Scott Dawkins says. It's a very different cost model. And it's allowed them to plow revenue into AI, into ad targeting, into technology areas where I think traditional media is just slower to innovate. Just understanding those business dynamics is useful as a starting point for this shift, and one of the reasons why we wanted to highlight it. The WPP Media report says that creator-driven revenue will hit $184.9 billion this year, up 20% from 2024, and is expected to more than double to $376.6 billion by 2030. As for the 2025 downgrade to a mere 1.08 trillion, just a mere 1.08 trillion in global ad revenue, Scott Dawkins says, that is driven primarily by the U.S. and China. Where go those markets? Maybe they should have said something else.
Where those markets go.
Where those markets, U.S. and China, goes the global number. Oh, I get it now. Where goes those markets, the U.S. and China, goes the global market.
Right.
And we did downgrade both of those markets this year a little bit, she says, noting the macro uncertainty for marketers around the world. That is a lot to take in, but hearing that information and then sort of validating some of the conversations I think that even we've had just about social media and the impact that's going to have on the world. And when we talk about influence, how influential social media marketing is in terms of the results that's going to drive for businesses with its ad revenue, so on and so forth. In hearing all of that, I want to hear your first thoughts.
You know, you and I have been having these conversations for the past 2 years. And 6 years ago, I made one of my first investments. And I'll never forget the VC that we met with for this particular investment that I had done as an angel. The VC said that influencer marketing was not a thing and that it would be dead in 5 years. Not only is it not dead, it has more than quadrupled. It was $250 million 6 years ago. Now we're talking about $1 trillion worth of ad revenue that is going towards the creator economy.
Right.
And the truth is, and you just said it, this is no longer a creator economy. It is the economy. We are moving so much money, and advertisers and ad agencies are spending more money now than they ever have, really in the history of the way that traditional marketing would have gone or is going. And the truth is, I can be a one-man marketing company. I can be a one-man agency. I, as an influencer who is influential, can move product in a way that a traditional ad can't do anymore. People just aren't spending time on TVs. They're not spending as much time. Nobody's listening really to the radio. No offense to everybody in radio. But like, yeah, people aren't listening to adverts anymore on the radio. They're not going to the newspapers anymore. People aren't watching traditional news anymore. And so in order for companies to not only exist but thrive in this economy, you have to have a base that is on social media. What I find really interesting about the work that we do with Mayvrix and BYOB, and why we've really even just started this entire podcast, the truth is, if you do not have a company that is down the lane in social media, you won't survive.
Mm.
You're not going to have a company that speaks to the demographic that you're looking to buy and scale your product or service. It's just not going to happen. And so to hear everything that's been coming out of Cannes in the last couple of days, I mean, the truth is, I think it said 1 trillion in ad spend is shifting to creators, and 70% of global ad dollars are now flowing through digital creators and through digital, and the creators are leading the charge.
Yeah.
This isn't going anywhere.
Right. And I think the mistake that people can make right now is assuming that all of this is going to be artificial intelligence.
Right.
And that's really not
It's not true.
the truth, because we're seeing right now how executives are thinking about the money that they're investing into
Right.
social from 2025 and beyond. And social media is literally just a form of marketing. And I think a lot of mistakes, even for creators, you want to just go on social media and get followers, but getting followers is not the thing.
No.
Social media itself is not the thing. Social media is just marketing for the thing. You all right?
I'm good, sorry. We're shooting outside, okay?
So social media is not the thing. Social media is marketing for the thing.
Yeah.
When you understand marketing and the psychology that's attached to it, very similar to what I say about sales. When you understand marketing and the psychology that's attached to it, you now understand you have a place where you could talk to people about your stuff.
Yeah.
And when you talk to people about your stuff, whether it's a product or service, and you do it in a way that creates a storyline, you do it in a way where people are connected to what you do, and you start to speak specifically to your audience.
Right.
Now you're putting yourself in a position where it's not just creating a TikTok dance video. You're actually allowing people to have insight into what you're doing, insight to what your company represents, become a part of your community. And now we're talking the same language, because I feel when I'm looking at your stuff, when I'm engaged with your stuff, we're all a part of the same community. So as we're building brands right now, as we're doing more education for people with what we're doing,
Right.
and just ultimately, even not just connected to us, but as everybody gets people as part of their community. The reason why you buy Coke, you feel part of a community.
Right.
And for some of you, you love Coke, but you continue to buy Coke instead of Pepsi because of the way that they branded themselves. But even that is changing a little bit just because of how marketing over time is the branding for your company.
Right.
Social media has changed all of that. The data says it. And just to give you a little bit more insight into what I'm talking about right now, getting back to what the executives at WPP Media are calling out, at the same time, it is noting that 2025 will mark a significant shift in advertising. So not marketing, advertising, when it comes to the makeup of professional content and user-generated content.
Mm-hmm.
WPP Media says that this year, more than half of all content-driven ad dollars will flow to creator-driven platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. What is that telling you? Now, the way that we're watching things is shifted.
Mm-hmm.
The way that we're feeling about things is shifting. Yes, AI is going to impact that heavily, but there is space for you. There's space for all of us to continue to share, to build, create, and bring in money for your business. That's what I think about the impact, but I'm curious, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I hate the word piggyback because that was such an overused word when we were all on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
But something that I wanted to add in there is, the truth is, we talk a lot about, or people will say to us that the market is oversaturated, or that influencing is oversaturated, or a particular niche is oversaturated. And we've said this in a previous episode, which go listen to episode 1 or episode 2, where I say, like, it's only clouded at the bottom, right? It's only oversaturated at the bottom. But the truth is, because attention is so cheap, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean as much.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, we always say that social media is just top of funnel marketing. It's the entranceway. It's the gateway to begin really how you spend your ad money and how you spend your marketing dollars. But if you don't understand the difference between PR, if you don't understand the difference between social media marketing, traditional marketing, and you don't understand, or you think that, or even if you are a brand and you're throwing dollars behind an influencer, if impressions is your goal, then great, you're gonna get what you want. But the truth is, if sales is what you want, and making money is what you want, or having a successful collaboration is what you want, community is at the center of that entire thing. And so if attention is cheap, we know that the power lies in community. We know that the power of the dollar is surrounded by storytelling and trust. If you don't have those elements together, you're not going to make money. We have had this conversation for a long time about, like, even as an influencer, sponsorships is not the greatest place for me to build success. It's collaboration.
Yeah.
It's creating my own brand. It's creating my own company, and collaboration maybe in partnership with another brand that already exists who need, it's interesting because it's not celebrities anymore that are running the brands, that are running the ads. It's now the influencers. You're seeing the Jordan the Stallions, you're seeing the Hannah Stockings, you're seeing the Adams, you're seeing the Forbes list just came out. The amount of money that is being thrown behind some of these influencers who are influential, and they're going to keep doing that as large corporations and brands. They're doing that because they understand that the trust in community is built within what their brand is. And so the partnerships end up being successful because they know that when they say move or they say jump, their community will jump.
So why don't you talk a little bit about how important that is for businesses? Because there's probably somebody watching this and they hear you talking about Jordan the Stallion, they hear you talking about Hannah, they hear you talking about other influencers, which I don't even necessarily like the word influencer, but I understand the thought behind it, because you are influencing people, you are influencing a community. But I think there's, at least the way that I think about it, a lot of people just have this negative stigma that's attached to influencer and influencer marketing. But the truth is this: regardless of how you feel about it, these people are able to move their audience if they built an audience that feels like their community. So, initial question, why don't you talk a little bit about the importance of being able to build communities and create communities for businesses as we look forward from 2025 and beyond?
From a founder's perspective, or from, like, let's say a Coke to an influencer, or as an influencer in reverse?
Whatever you feel led to talk about with that question, because it could go either way.
So an example that I want to give of someone that has done this really, really well, and I'll probably give 2 different versions just to make sure I hit both points. If I have been following Jackie Aina, like OG 2012, 2013, like way back in the day, she was in the military, like doing her makeup, right? Which is also how I learned. The OGs, the Desies, all of those ladies. With a Jackie Aina in particular, one of the things that makes her so successful is, regardless of how anyone else feels, she is truthful and authentic to her thoughts, to her look, and she's very intentional about the kind of content that she makes. She's unapologetic about the kind of content that she makes. And so for me, as a Black woman, I'm watching her transform and change, and her success as she's thriving, and how that's evolved, going on this journey with her for 12, 13 years now. And I said all that to say, Jackie in particular has a very, very, very high engagement rate, especially amongst Black women, because she knows who she's talking to. She understands what's the pain point for us. She knows what it's like to experience those pain points and what it's like navigating being a Black woman in the beauty industry. So she's speaking to her own experience, but there are millions of women that resonate with her. And in doing so, when she continues to build her brand and she's doing collaborations and she says, hey, I love X product, at least 20-30% of us are gonna go buy the damn product because we trust what she's saying because she is me and I am her.
Yeah.
And when you are a brand that is collaborating with a Jackie, which she's also very intentional and selective with who she works with, which lets me know that I can trust her voice and what she's going to say. So I'm more likely to buy and move. If I'm a brand, those are the kind of influencers that you want to work with. She's not just an influencer. She's a founder. This is like, I operate as a startup myself.
Right.
And in doing so, now when she launches her own brands and she's launched Forever Mood, I don't care what she launches, we're going to buy it.
Right.
Because we've bought into her, we've bought into the brand, we have bought into the things that she says and the lifestyle that I want to emulate and live. And so for me, thinking about it from a brand, regardless of size, to an influencer, whenever you're going to hire one, or you're going to put ad dollars behind or marketing dollars behind an influencer, make sure you understand the influencer's brand, make sure that it aligns. I've seen beauty brands go after a food influencer and then wonder why it doesn't work.
Right.
We know a company in particular that we're working with now. One of the pain points that they've had is the fact that they had paid so much money into influencer marketing, but they were in beauty and travel, and it's an AI company. It doesn't even align. Those paths don't cross. And so making sure that there's a level of understanding between the alignment of what you're trying to sell or portray and who this influencer is. Now, on the opposite end, if you are an influencer looking to work with a brand, if I'm in beauty and I go after a food brand, if it doesn't align, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
What's fascinating, even just with your example, what I was getting ready to get into was about skincare and beauty with what I read in the Hollywood Reporter. And again, all of this is on the back end of the Cannes Festival, which, if you're unfamiliar, is one of the largest places to go when it comes to bringing ad executives and creators or celebrities in the world. So I'm going to read this really quick before I start to go off on a tangent myself. While influencers already dominate the skincare and makeup industries, creators are booking lucrative deals with household goods brands. Unilever CEO Fernando Fernandez said the conglomerate would hire 20 times more influencers to pursue a social-first marketing strategy, citing that consumers feel suspicious of corporate branding. Making content about disinfectant wipes probably didn't draw creators to the field, but it could help them stay. This year, Cannes Lions expanded the Lion Creators programming it piloted in 2024 to teach influencers more tools of the trade. Cannes Lions BP Ed Davidson said that a huge reason influencers signed up for the festival is to figure out, how can I keep this thing going and build a real business? So let's zoom out. The global influencer marketing industry is expected to grow by 36% between 2024 and 2025 to $33 billion, according to Statista data. So again, just to kind of backstop a little bit, one of the things you just talked about, even with Jackie, was her ability to influence and to get people to move. And then you think about people like Mr. Beast or even Logan Paul, who now have essentially built companies just based on the brands that they built before.
Yes.
Mr. Beast has show on Amazon Prime.
Feastables.
We were on, he has Feastables. We were on just talking the other day. And I was looking at something Mr. Beast had put up. Literally every hour, this video was getting 1.8 million views. So it's not just having the eyes, it's literally getting people to go out to the stores, get Feastables, and then go on Amazon Prime and watch his game show. So you're watching the way the world is shifting right now before your eyes. So how does this connect back to business and what we're doing? As you think about, and I don't think I'm saying anything that's novel, but these companies are shifting to a social first strategy for a reason. Social is where people are finding trust with the people that they want to connect with. Now, granted, the grounds are a little bit crazier than they were before, but the reality is when you find that thing and your business finds that thing, double down on it.
Okay.
And connect with the people. And don't just put stuff out just because. Think about who you're speaking to. It's just like solving any other business problem.
Yeah.
Who am I solving this problem for? What audience and what message do I want to deliver to this audience?
Yep.
With every piece of content? What problem am I solving? What transformation am I showing in this content? It's something that as business people, we do when we give sales presentations.
Right.
When we're putting out marketing copy, we want to speak to a specific ICP or ideal customer profile. How are you doing that in your business content? Those are all the things to think about. But again, just hearing all of that and that all these companies are shifting to a social first marketing strategy. How surprising is that to you?
Not at all. It is not surprising to me at all. I mean, I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so to that venture capitalist. I know you know who I am, and we know each other because you also follow me. So I told you so. I am not shocked at all because I have two thoughts. The first thought is, and you mentioned this in the article with, I think it was Dawkins, or is that who it was? His name? Scott Dawkins, yeah. So it's something you mentioned earlier, and I remember saying this during the pandemic. That is some of the most money in my influencer career I'd ever made was during the pandemic. And let me tell you why. The cost for an advertiser, the production cost, is so much higher than if you pay me. Now, the difference is you won't pay me, okay? Because I understand I'm not a 30-person team. However, I am a gaffer, I'm lighting, I am producer, we got the cameras, I've got my phones, I got a script, there's a copywriter. All of those are me. And the truth is, you can pay, like you mentioned, 20 influencers, and it would still be cheaper than running one advertisement during the Super Bowl. It's cheaper than running one advertisement during the NBA playoffs. It's cheaper than running a traditional ad during a news show, and you don't even know who the F is watching it because the audience is millennials. Yes, we're getting older. I'm still young, but we're getting older. But we're not watching traditional media anymore. We're not turning on our TVs to watch the news. We're just not. And so how can you speak to an audience that you need to purchase or see something and it's just not there? So I'm not surprised at all that it's cheaper to hire 20 influencers. And even if you're paying them, $150,000 or $200,000 per post, it's still cheaper than putting a production together to run one singular ad. Then the second thing that I want to say is I know BYOB is for the most part focused around business, but entertainment is also business.
Of course.
It is a very lucrative business. And I think it was Keke Palmer that said recently that when asked how did she get over all the auditions and how was she able to continue going when she was like, it was disparaging and she's doubting herself and you have all of these elements, right? And she said what she did was she stopped auditioning and she used social media to create what she wanted anyway. She wanted to do an SNL skit. So what does she do? She creates her own SNL version on her social media channels, takes the money from the brand deals, takes the money from the partnerships and sponsorships, and she starts creating her own shows. So now she's got a partnership where her show's been picked up. Her podcast, it's been picked up. The skits and the characters that she's created have all now been a part of her brand, which then allows her to expand into entertainment and control what she wants to do.
Let's pause real quick. If this is blowing your mind even a little bit, and you realize you have to rethink your entire marketing strategy, good. That's exactly why we made the Built Different newsletter.
Every week, we break down business moves like this. What's working right now, how to pivot fast, and how to apply it before the market gets crowded.
It's free, it's tactical, it's built for businesses who want to win in the age of the creator economy.
Head to BYOBdifferent.com or hit the link in our description to get instant access. Even on a personal note, last June, when I moved to LA, so here's my truth. When I moved to LA, I had a network. I had the folks in the industry that I work with. I came here for a very specific reason, and it wasn't necessarily entertainment, but adjacent, we'll call it that. But when you come to LA, you start at the effing bottom. When you come to LA, regardless of what your network is, who you know, you are starting at ground zero because everyone wants to do the same thing. Yeah. There are millions of people who move here, millions of people who are in and out in, 3 months, the average person in LA?
I mean, something like that. It's very short.
It's very, very short-lived. But the truth is the industry is really hard. And so for me, I thought about, as my career was evolving, I decided I wanted to go back to where I started, which was journalism, and I wanted to do entertainment reporting. So then what's the best way for me to enter the industry with having no context and nobody to tell me what I should be doing? So I'm thinking about, how do I create my own opportunities? And I am that woman that if I can't get a seat at the table, I will serve water. If I can't, I will figure it out. So a year ago, I said, I'm already being invited as talent, as an influencer, to red carpets. So why don't I start doing takeovers while I'm there?
Yep.
That was a year ago in June. A year later, I am not only not having to do takeovers, I'm being invited and I'm being paid to do the very work that I wanted to do anyway. But that all stemmed from creating my own opportunities, from being an influencer, by having my own personal brand, by having these conversations. And I'm gonna call y'all out. And maybe I shouldn't do this on BYOB. I don't have the best engagement when I do these type of videos. But the people who need to watch it are seeing me, and that also gives me opportunities. So you can't be afraid to create the opportunity that you want. Yep. And using it as the top of funnel for your brand or your business, which in turn is very lucrative. Hence why I'm not surprised, to your question, by anything that's happening right now. If you would have said to me 5 years ago that Cannes Lion would have a creator program, everyone would have said you were crazy. That would never happen. And 5 years later, they started a year ago and then expanded it, knowing that the creator economy and the amount of money that's being spent and the way that YouTube has changed, the way that Instagram has changed. We'll talk about how, I think I said this on ITE, if you, which is Influence to Equity, which of course we have another podcast. If you are an influencer, you should and move like a media company. Yeah. We are a media company. Individually, as a business, as a company, because that's what you are and that's how you have to move. Yeah. Sorry, that was a lot.
Well, I mean, I think the reality is we're seeing so many creators shift into business, mm-hmm. and so many businesses look around and be like, oh, wait, I actually have to create, and you don't know the path to do that. Even with NBA players, mm-hmm. NFL players, they're starting podcasts. You're now connecting with them in a different way. I mean, you think about names like Micah Parsons, yeah. Tony Allen, Zach Randolph, Matt Barnes, Jeff Teague. All of these players understand now, oh, wait, I can actually do the other side of media. And I think it was Matt Barnes who was like, we never liked the media. Yep. And then you become like a person media. In the media. But you also understand how that connects to business and just people being able to see you and connect with what you're doing. You go deeper into entertainment. You go deeper into business because you know by publicly putting yourself out there and connecting to an audience, you're creating a different kind of relationship. You're creating a different kind of engagement. And through that engagement, you're allowed to build something different. You're allowed to build something more than you were able to build before, just by being an NBA player, just by being an NFL player, and just by being a business. There's so much opportunity right now in this space. I was watching something the other day and I saw Walmart now has podcast studios. Yep. So how important is it right now to think about how you represent your business and what you can do, especially from a social first marketing strategy, if you're able to create organic content and connect with people who you intend to serve? Mm-hmm. How different is that for your business? When you're able to speak directly to your audience and engage in a way that sometimes possibly would be uncomfortable for you. There's a lot of you who are listening to this and you're like, man, I want to be on camera. I want to do this and I want to do that. But this is your opportunity. If you're thinking about it right now, just get in front of the camera and practice. You don't have to put it out in the world right now, but get in front of the camera and practice. When you're comfortable, put it on Instagram, put it on TikTok. You can even go in dark mode and put it on a fence if you want to, but just put it out there. Give yourself the opportunity to build your business, and you want to do it differently. We've already given you a framework called the Disrupt framework, mm-hmm. which you can go back and maybe we'll put it here or somewhere else on this video so you can take a look at it. But the idea though is we're watching across the world this entire shift, and it's going to have ripple effects on the rest of your life. This thing is not stopping. So whether it's you creating or understanding what artificial intelligence is doing right now for businesses, you need to put yourself in a position where you not only understand these things, but you implement, take action, and do something different to give yourself the opportunity that you cannot create in any other way. So moving on to the next thing. What I mentioned earlier, Mr. Beast and Miss Rachel now produce shows on major streaming platforms. You know more about Miss Rachel than I do. Mr. Beast has his own show on Amazon Prime. And that is funneling into a lot of these other things. Dude Perfect has their own studio, and they're creating content within their own studio. With that said, we just so happen to live in LA. And what we're seeing is these studios like Paramount and Warner, they're dry. And the game has changed entirely. In hearing all of that and understanding how this thing is happening, I was reading something on the Hollywood Reporter, and it talked about how creators are the new Hollywood. Social media is the new Hollywood. And you mentioned something to me earlier today about YouTube and just the playing ground on YouTube and how that's entirely shifting the way we see everything. How important is this moment and the things that are happening with AI and the things that are happening with the creator economy for not only the ripple effects for business, but the ripple effects for us as individuals, as consumers?
So recently I was watching my son and the way that he was navigating YouTube and the way that he was going between the long form and the short form. And he loves gaming, so I've been watching even the street. So for me, watching how he consumes content as a 13-year-old, and then watching my behavior and the way that I consume content, and then watching how you consume content very differently than some of our friends and our team, right? And I realized over the course of the last week, I don't think once I turned on any other form of television. We only watched YouTube videos on the TV. And YouTube has now surpassed Netflix for the amount of people that are, like, what they're watching and how they're consuming it. You're going to YouTube for recipes. You're going to YouTube for how to fix your car, I was Googling how to oil change. You were Googling how to make a particular recipe that I asked you to make.
The salad. I was trying to figure out how to make it. I've never made a salad. I was trying to figure out how to make a salad.
You know, and there's a grandpa that's on, I don't remember his name, but it's like, if you don't have a dad, he will teach you how to do certain things in your home. And he started during the pandemic in case you were alone and you didn't know how to fix like a plumbing issue or whatever in your home. And I think I read the statistic that people are watching, there are 200 billion views on YouTube Shorts daily. Every day. So when you think about how we're consuming content and consumer behavior, and if you're not spending money on YouTube ads, if you're not consuming content in terms of from an education standpoint, there's so much information that can be gathered, and there's something about something for everyone. And I think about even the products that I buy as a consumer and the products that some of our friends are buying and what we're all interested in. If you're not running ads on YouTube, if you're not consuming the content to know what behaviors or what is inspiring or driving your consumer to sell, you're also missing a great opportunity to understand how the market is shifting, because the trends change. The way that people spend their money is changing. Does that answer the question?
It answers the question.
Okay.
It answers the question. I think just even speaking strategically as we consider the business impacts and just people being able to solve problems for what they feel for their businesses right now, because there's a lot of people starting out and they're using content to funnel into their business. Again, social media being the top of funnel for whatever that you're building. There are so many different pathways into this. So if you think about it from a 3-tier approach, you can either become the creator, and you can partner with creators, or you can build a creator network and collaborate with creators. So you might not have the audience that you want right now, and you might not feel comfortable in the camera right now, but can you tap 5 to 10 creators, and they could be micro influencers, and say, hey, here's what I'm building with my business. I'm able to market it the way that I want to. Think Fashion Nova, think Gymshark, think all of those things. They're partnering with creators to share more about who they are, what they do, but they're connecting with the right creators. What we've talked about here recently, beyond just the Cannes Festival and what's happening with advertising and marketing, is how much opportunity there is on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
There's some data that people have talked about with LinkedIn, and I'll pull it at some point, but there's some data with video on LinkedIn and how impactful that can be for your brand. Whether you want to be a speaker or you're just putting stuff out about your business, there's going to be a bigger opportunity with LinkedIn just based on some of the stuff that we read. And just even for you, I think you do LinkedIn quite a bit better than I do. Why don't you talk a little bit about the importance of LinkedIn and how valuable that has been for what you're doing right now?
LinkedIn is so fascinating because you only have to be an active user. To be considered an active user, you only have to post on LinkedIn once a month. There are only 200 million people on LinkedIn instead of billions of people on Instagram or YouTube or everywhere else. So the space is, oh my gosh, there's so much space on LinkedIn. And especially if you make video content, LinkedIn is no longer stuffy. It's no longer the place where it's just like professionals and people are putting out funny things. People are putting out relatable content in terms of like working in corporate, putting like creators like myself, the same content I'm repurposing, obviously changing the language a little bit for that particular platform and for my audience. But I am repurposing content that's going across all the platforms. And not only is it working, but if the brand managers are on LinkedIn, why wouldn't I be on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
If the networks that I want to work for and do correspondence for are on LinkedIn, why wouldn't I be on there? LinkedIn is the ultimate cheat code to get in front of the very people and decision makers that I want to choose me when it's time for an opportunity, or I'm top of mind because I'm posting on LinkedIn 4 to 5 times a week. Again, to be considered active, you only have to post once. And if you can make that one post a video piece of content with some great copy and great language for the people that you want to connect with, the opportunity is massive. Not only that, they're about to launch a creator program where you're able to monetize on LinkedIn now. So if you are not on LinkedIn, you're missing out such great opportunities. I mean, truly, the CEOs are there, the COOs, the CFOs are there, the brand managers are there, the influencer marketing and partnership managers are there. I can speak directly to the person that is going to make the decision about whether or not I'm a great fit for a particular campaign. I should be there.
I think what's incredible about LinkedIn, to speak a little bit more to what you just said, there are executives there. So just imagine if you're on LinkedIn and you're building something, just even from a following on LinkedIn, and you want to connect with Unilever. We'll use that as an example. You want to connect with Unilever and you're on LinkedIn and you're sharing stuff about Unilever and all of the products that they have. And it just so happens that the CEO logs in and he ignores all the messages that he gets from the salespeople like I am on LinkedIn. And he ignores all those messages. And then as he's on his timeline, because trust me, they do that too, they see something about your post and they see that you shared something of value. Just imagine the opportunity that creates for you just by being on that platform. It doesn't have to be LinkedIn. It could be Instagram. It could be YouTube. What I share with people is this. On specifically Instagram, your reels are how you grow. But the carousels, the photos, that's how you show. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're a founder, you're somebody who wants to be a creator, you can simply start by sharing valuable carousels, specifically to the audience that you're solving problems for. And guess what you can also do? From that content, you can share that same content on LinkedIn. You can share that same content on TikTok. You can now also share on YouTube. YouTube has posts. YouTube has communities.
Yeah.
These brands, these organizations, these even social media platforms are all watching what's happening. If you want to learn, stop spending time on Instagram just scrolling. Stop spending time on TikTok just to watch funny videos. Stop spending time on YouTube just to be on there to watch things that don't matter. Now, I'm not saying I'm the stickler that's going to tell you.
You're not the
Oh,
police, the scroll police.
I'm not, well, sometimes, but I'm also the scroll police for myself. But that's because I don't want you to waste your time.
Okay.
Now, stop being entertained. We all do it. You might throw on TV, you may watch the NBA finals, you may watch the NFL, whatever it may be. But also be intentional about the time that you're spending. If you're thinking about creating, hell, most people are just watching what other people are doing
Yes.
and replicating that.
Yes.
But there's also an opportunity for you to learn. So fake LinkedIn, fake YouTube. Heck, TikTok had more ROI than any of these other platforms. Not combined. I don't know why I was there to say that, but TikTok had more ROI than any other platform. But that's because there's so much content being funneled out on TikTok. And some of these other platforms are copying what's happening on TikTok. If you want to learn something, go out, listen to these long form videos on YouTube. It doesn't have to be this podcast. It could be another podcast, but give yourself the
Make it this
opportunity-
podcast though.
Yeah,
This
do
podcast.
Just give yourself the opportunity to learn. If you're a creator, go watch something else and learn how to build your business. If you're a business, go look at what these creators are doing and don't just copy them. Figure out what's working for them and how that connects genuinely to what you do and what you're trying to build. With all of that said, if you were starting right now and you are, let's say, an entrepreneur, a founder who's starting from ground zero, where exactly are you starting?
I'm starting on social media. I am making content immediately. If I
No. I want you to be even more specific than that.
What do you mean?
Where exactly are you starting? What platform you starting from? What content are you creating?
The pressure is getting worse. If I'm a founder, as a founder, I'm starting on LinkedIn for me personal, because I believe, and we're watching it happen, and I've been talking about this for what you and I have been talking about it for the past 2 years. If you are a founder, you absolutely should have a personal brand. You should have a personal brand. So I would build a personal brand for myself. The second thing I would do is make sure that I owned the login for every platform, or the name for whatever my business is. Let's say it's Sara Lifestyle all over again. I would do the same thing over again. I would start on Instagram, which is how I started. Then I would move over to TikTok and then YouTube. Knowing what I know now, if I had to start over, I would do Instagram, I would do YouTube, and then TikTok in that order. The demographic is different depending on who I'm selling to. If I'm selling to Gen Z, I'm going to TikTok.
TikTok.
If I'm selling to millennials, I'm going to be on Instagram, Facebook. If I'm selling to Gen X, I'm probably going to Facebook. If I'm selling to millennials, again, I'm going to go to Instagram and YouTube. And then if I'm going all the way to what my son Jeremiah is, what's Alpha? Is he Alpha?
Heck, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know these generations.
If I'm speaking to Gen Alpha, I'm going to YouTube Shorts because that's where they spend the most time, and TikTok. I would build those things out and storytell what is my company about, why I started it. I would do a day in the life of a founder. I would talk about how the products are made, why they're made, why you chose to make some of the decisions that they have, or that I've chosen to make in this theoretical company. I think right now I would build publicly if I had to start over and do it again. I think showing people the mistakes that you've made, the losses that you have, the wins as they come, getting your client testimonials, allowing your customers to maybe help you make some of the decisions. For example, there's a friend of mine who has a fitness brand, and she let her audience choose which color for the next drop it should be. I would do that if I had a clothing brand. We have another friend of ours who has a clothing brand and a jewelry brand. She was the model of her own brand. So I would make sure that I was front facing if you are a founder and you are afraid to be forward facing, I highly, highly recommend figuring out how you can do that. Because when we see you, it humanizes the brand. When we see, we're, especially in the beginning, we're buying you. We're not buying the actual product. The product isn't as, obviously you want a good product, but it's not as relevant. And if I had to do it again, like you said, I would make sure that I was the model for whatever the company is for. I would make sure that I would show myself using the product. I would, someone who's done this really well recently, I don't know who his new social media team is, but they're doing a really good job, is I think it's John, the founder of the, is it Stan?
I
Stan, sir?
assume you're correct.
Right? With, they just did the partnership with Stephen Bartlett.
Yeah.
Is it Stan? Okay.
Yeah.
So something that they've done, whoever his new social media team is, has done a really great job.
And it's not just partnering with Stephen Bartlett.
Oh,
there's a lot of people that are partnering with right now.
Yeah. But what they've done really well is getting his thoughts on what it's like to be a founder. What does success look like for him? What do the hard days look like? How many times did he want to quit? I would talk about like if I'm up at night, like doing like a behind the diary, behind the CEO, it's behind the diary with Stephen Bartlett. I think he does that really well. It's like taking people on the journey of like, this ish is really effing hard. And so people will buy into you, and then they need to be inspired, educated, or entertained. So I would probably pick 2 of those 3 things and make content that was centered around whatever my business is in those areas. But I would have it focus on me, the product, why, and make it fun and entertaining.
So I'll close with this, because I know you've given us a lot of your time, and I want to be respectful of your time and mine, as a matter of fact. If you feel like you can't do it, 18 months ago, I lost my job as I was navigating a really difficult time in my life. And it just felt like there was no opportunity for me to have the space to grieve and deal with the mental health challenges at that point as I'm navigating all of this grief. And I take this bike ride from San Francisco to LA. And I realized at that moment, there is another way. What Sara shared with me at that point in time, because we had already started doing a lot of things together, was that we should build a media company. And what's fascinating about that is my background is in sales and marketing, which I've shared previously, but feeling all of those feelings and watching my life sort of implode in a way, I would hear from a lot of people, that this is just an opportunity to do X, Y, Z. And I knew they were right, but at that point, I didn't want to hear it. I just wanted to do the thing. But if you're feeling right now that even hearing all of this and you still can't accomplish what you're going to accomplish, first and foremost, I'm going to tell you that you absolutely can, but you have to give yourself the opportunity. Again, it is better for you to fail and figure it out than to not figure it out because you're afraid to fail. Not too long ago, Sara and I just closed a deal for our company that was $76,000. I lost my job 18 months ago. You know what the deal size that I was working on? $75,000. There's another one that I was working on too, but the one that I thought was the closest to closing was $75,000. And not only did we build that for ourselves, but we are able to share with people value and what we were able to build, just based on the ability to stay in the pocket and be resilient, be relentless, and continue to show up. So if you can't do anything else for yourself, stop thinking that you are not able, because the best ability is availability. And you need to be available to yourself to build what you want to build. And as you build that thing, think about how you can build it differently. Let's be real. The creator economy is no longer just an opportunity. It's the environment we're operating in. And if you're not adapting, you are falling behind.
The ad money, the attention, the influence, they're all shifting. And the businesses that learn to ride this wave now are going to dominate the next decade.
If this video resonated in any kind of way, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you want more insights, maybe watch this video right here.